These 50 things you believe about Canada that the map, the textbook, or the tourism board got wrong. We are not talking trivia. Some of these will embarrass you. A few will genuinely change how you read this country. Let's get into it. Fact 1. There is a place in Canada where gravity doesn't work properly. Around Hudson Bay, gravity is measurably weaker than the global average, about 0.005% less. You literally weigh less there than anywhere else on Earth. NASA's GRACE satellites confirmed it in 2002. The cause is the Laurentide ice sheet, a 3-kilometer thick slab of ice that sat on this region during the last ice age and physically compressed the crust downward. It melted 10,000 years ago. The land is still bouncing back, less than half an inch per year. But here's the part that gets stranger. That rebound only explains 25 to 45% of the anomaly. The rest comes from convection currents in the mantle actively pulling the plate downward from below. Hudson Bay will have weaker gravity for thousands of years to come. Fact 2. Canada extends further south than most of the United States. Canada's southernmost point, Middle Island in Lake Erie, Ontario, sits at latitude 41.68 degrees north. That's south of 27 U.S. states, including Oregon, Montana, and all of New England. Toronto sits at the same latitude as Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Windsor, Ontario is south of the capital of South Dakota. And Middle Island itself? It was owned by an Ohio car dealer until 2000, used as a rum-running way station during Prohibition, and the Nature Conservancy had to buy it at auction before Canada fully reclaimed it. Fact 3. The Raptors have no geographic right to we the North. Toronto sits at 43.7 degrees north, the same latitude as Sioux Falls. The Portland Trail Blazers and the Minnesota Timberwolves both play at higher latitudes. 3 NFL teams play further north than Toronto. The slogan is branding. Pure identity mythology with zero cartographic support. Fact 4. Canada's longest coastline claim depends on fractal math. The number, 243,000 kilometers, is real, but it comes from measuring every inlet, island, tidal flat, and microgeographic feature at a specific resolution. Change the measurement scale and the number changes dramatically. The coastline is genuinely vast. The precision of the claim is not. Fact 5. And this one inverts everything you think you know about sea level. While global ocean levels are rising, the shoreline around Hudson Bay is actually going the other direction. The land is still rebounding from the ice sheet's weight, rising out of the water. The Earth has over 200 meters of rebound left to complete. That process will take another 5,000 years. The rest of the planet's coasts are flooding. This one is emerging. So the map is elastic. The geography you learned is a snapshot taken at one resolution, one moment, one political convenience. Now let's talk about what wasn't on that map at all. Fact 6. Canada did not become a country in 1867. The British North America Act created a self-governing dominion, but Britain still controlled foreign policy, could override Canadian law, and held constitutional amendment power. Canada didn't gain full legal autonomy until the Statute of Westminster in 1931, and it didn't repatriate its own constitution until Pierre Trudeau pushed through the Constitution Act of 1982. So depending on your definition of sovereign nation, Canada's birthday is 1867, 1931, or 1982. Pick your argument carefully before July 1st. Fact 7. Newfoundland was its own country and almost joined the United States. It was an independent dominion from 1907 until it went bankrupt in 1934 and Britain took it back. When a referendum was finally held in 1948, joining Canada won by just 52.3%, one of the thinnest margins in Canadian history. But there was a third option: join the United States. American military bases were already on the island on 99-year leases. Britain blocked that path specifically to prevent Canada from being surrounded by American territory on 3 sides. Some Newfoundlanders still call March 31st, 1949, a day of mourning. Black flags flew at half-mast in St. John's. Fact 8. There is a piece of France sitting 20 kilometers off Canada's coast right now. Saint-Pierre and Miquelon uses the euro, operates in a different time zone, closes shops for a 2-hour lunch break, and is patrolled by French gendarmes. During Prohibition, Al Capone ran smuggling operations through it. During World War II, the Vichy French, the Nazi-aligned government, controlled it. A plan existed to install transatlantic radio transmitters there for Nazi communication. Free French forces eventually seized it on orders from de Gaulle, and the only guillotine ever used in North America was used on Saint-Pierre in 1889. It arrived from Martinique broken. Nobody wanted to operate it. Fact 9. Between 1870 and 1890, Canada lost nearly 20% of its population to the United States. Roughly 825,000 Canadians emigrated south during those 2 decades. Canada's total population at the time was about 4.8 million. In modern terms, that's equivalent to 7 million Canadians leaving between 2000 and 2020. The young Dominion was in genuine danger of demographic collapse. The Canadians would never move to America. Narrative doesn't hold up against the actual record. Sovereignty is a story we tell ourselves. So is national identity. And nowhere is that clearer than in the things we call Canadian. Fact 10. Canadian bacon does not exist in Canada. What Americans call Canadian bacon, those round ham slices on an Egg McMuffin, Canadians call back bacon or pea meal bacon. It's brined pork loin rolled in cornmeal. It has nothing to do with the American version. The name Canadian bacon was invented by American marketers and exported back to us. We accepted it. We probably shouldn't have. Fact 11. The accent Americans mock is not Canadian. The classic "a boot" that gets dropped into every SNL sketch and Hollywood impression, linguists call the actual Canadian phenomenon Canadian raising, a diphthong shift where the "oo" sound gets raised slightly. It lands closer to "a boat" than "a boot." The heavy version Americans perform maps most closely to upper Midwest dialects, Minnesota, Wisconsin. The accent in Fargo is closer to what Americans think Canadians sound like than what most Canadians actually sound like. Meanwhile, the Newfoundland accent, shaped by 400 years of isolated cultural development, sounds closer to rural Ireland than anything in central Canada. This country has enormous regional variation. The moose and flannel caricature flattens all of it. Fact 12. Hockey is not Canada's most played sport. Soccer has more youth participants, around 20% of kids aged 5 to 14. Among adults, golf has held the top spot since the late 90s. Hockey night in Canada draws around 2 million viewers on a good night. Canada has a population of about 40 million. That means 94% of the country is doing something else. Hockey is the national mythology. It is not the national activity. Fact 13. Only 18% of Canadians are functionally bilingual. Canada is officially a bilingual country. In practice, French is concentrated in Quebec and parts of New Brunswick, the only officially bilingual province. Most Canadians go through years of mandatory French instruction and emerge able to order a coffee and ask where the bathroom is. The bilingual identity is real at the institutional level. At the street level, it is thinner than the policy suggests. Fact 14. The beaver self-castration. Myth is not Canadian folklore. It is ancient Roman. The story that beavers, when hunted, would bite off their own castor glands to offer up a trade and escape appears in Egyptian and Roman texts dating back over 2,000 years. It spread into European natural history and attached itself to Canada through the fur trade. It has been wrong for 2,000 years. Also, beaver testicles are internal. The anatomy alone kills the myth. Now let's talk about the laws, because the legal myths about this country are in a category of their own. Fact 15. There is no law against dragging a dead horse down Yonge Street on Sunday. This appears on every weird Canadian laws list ever published. There is no trace of it in Toronto's municipal archives. Same goes for painting your garage door purple in Canada and removing a bandage in public. These circulate as fact because they are funny and nobody checks them. The actual weird laws, the ones that are real and verifiable, get completely buried under the fabricated ones. Fact 16. The witchcraft law was only repealed in 2018. Until that year, it was a criminal offense under the Criminal Code to fraudulently pretend to practice witchcraft, sorcery, enchantment, or conjuration. Not a colonial relic sitting in a dusty archive, an active section of federal law. That same 2018 modernization sweep also repealed the ban on challenging someone to a duel, which had carried up to 2 years in prison. It also removed the ban on publishing comic books depicting crime. All gone in 2018. Fact 17. Lacrosse was not declared Canada's national sport in 1859. The claim is repeated constantly. The problem is that 1859 was 8 years before Canada existed as a nation. There was no parliament to pass that declaration. The actual legislation, Bill C-112.1, came in 1994, making hockey the national winter sport and lacrosse the national summer sport. Anything cited before 1867 is, by definition, not a Canadian law. Fact 18. There is a hard legal limit on how many loonies you can use in a single transaction. Under the Currency Act, coin payments are capped. You cannot pay more than $25 using $1 coins in a single transaction. The law exists. Most Canadians have never heard of it. Fact 19. It is still illegal to scare the king. Section 49 of the Criminal Code prohibits alarming the sovereign. It carries a maximum sentence of 14 years. It was written for the Queen. The king inherited it. It has never been repealed. The legal myths are fun. The policy myths are expensive. Fact 20. Canadian healthcare is not free. This one needs to be said clearly because the myth has hardened into international gospel. Canadians pay for the system through payroll deductions and taxes, and the coverage has significant gaps. Prescription drugs are not universally covered. Dental care is not covered. Eye exams are not covered for most adults. Physiotherapy, mental health services, and specialist wait times are all points of serious strain. Many Canadians carry supplemental private insurance to fill those gaps. The system is real, it functions, and it covers a meaningful core of medical care. But free healthcare is a shorthand that papers over a more complicated structure. Anyone who has waited 14 months for a referral knows exactly what I mean. Fact 21. Colored margarine was illegal in Quebec until 2008, not to protect public health, but to protect dairy farmers. The butter industry lobbied for it. The logic was simple. If margarine looked like butter, consumers might buy it instead. So the province banned yellow margarine. If you wanted margarine in Quebec, it came out of the container white. You had to color it yourself at home. This lasted decades. It was pure regulatory protectionism dressed up as nothing in particular. Fact 22. Canada ranks 13th in the world for civilian gun ownership. In a 2007 small arms survey out of Geneva, Canada clocked in at 30.8 guns per 100 civilians. That is double Australia's rate. It is 5 times England's. The Canada has no gun culture narrative is a comparison to the United States that flatters us by proximity. Measured against the rest of the world, Canada is genuinely high on that list. And widespread non-compliance with registration and licensing requirements suggests the actual number may be higher than reported. Fact 23. Nearly half of Canadians cannot identify the year of Confederation. Survey data puts it around 47%. A quarter of Canadians in another poll could not identify Pierre Trudeau from a photograph. These are not obscure trivia questions. They are the foundational facts of the country's own origin story. If nearly half the population doesn't know when Canada started, then the national identity being sold. The confident, historically grounded, self-aware Canadian is performing better than the data supports. Fact 24. Alberta is the only rat-free jurisdiction on Earth at any comparable geographic scale. The Agricultural Pests Act has been active since 1942. The province has employed rat patrol officers monitoring the Saskatchewan border for over 70 years. It is illegal to own a pet rat in Alberta without a special permit. No country, no island, no other landlocked province anywhere has matched this. A continental landmass, 0 rats. It sounds like an exaggeration. It is not. Policy is one thing. Then there is the raw, violent geology underneath it. Fact 25. The economy of Sudbury, Ontario runs on the floor of an alien impact zone. The Sudbury Basin is the second largest confirmed meteorite impact crater on Earth. 130 kilometers in diameter, formed 1.85 billion years ago when a 10-kilometer rock hit its speed. The nickel deposits that built the local mining industry exist because of that impact. The meteorite drove minerals up from deep in the mantle and concentrated them in the crater floor. Most people living in Sudbury have no idea they are sitting inside one of the most violent geological events in this hemisphere's history. Fact 26. Canada has a desert, and parts of it get hotter than Las Vegas. The Enkmip Desert near Osoyoos in British Columbia receives less than 30 centimeters of precipitation per year. Summer temperatures hit 40 degrees Celsius. The lake beside it is the warmest freshwater lake in Canada. Tourism boards have marketed Osoyoos as Canada's only true desert for decades. Here is the correction. By strict scientific classification, it is semi-arid. The precipitation is technically too high to qualify. So the myth runs in both directions. Most people don't know Canada has anything resembling a desert, and the people promoting it are slightly overstating the case. Fact 27. The Smoking Hills in the Northwest Territories have been on fire for centuries. This is not a forest fire. It is not man-made. On the east coast of Cape Bathurst, underground oil shales and brown coal rich in sulfur are exposed to oxygen and combust. Geological combustion. Continuous, self-sustaining, and ancient. The smoke is visible from the water. The hills themselves are streaked in rust and sulfur yellow. It looks apocalyptic because, geologically speaking, it is. Fact 28. Mount Thor on Baffin Island holds a record almost nobody knows about. It has the steepest vertical drop on Earth, 1.25 kilometers of sheer cliff face at an overhang of 105 degrees. That means the wall leans past vertical. It goes beyond straight down. Most people, if asked to name the world's most extreme cliff face, would guess somewhere in the Alps or Patagonia. The answer is the Canadian Arctic. Fact 29. Canada has more lakes than the rest of the world combined is both true and false, depending on how you count. At a threshold of 10 hectares or larger, Canada holds roughly 62% of the world's total, which does mean more than every other country combined. But if you drop that size threshold, the rest of the world collectively has at least triple what Canada has. Snopes rated the viral version false. The real answer: Canada dominates every other single country by a massive margin. More than the rest of the world combined is only accurate at one specific measurement cutoff. The fact is impressive enough without the overreach. Fact 30. Canada is not the second largest country by landmass. If you count correctly, Canada's total area is 9.98 million square kilometers. Roughly 891,000 of that is fresh water. By pure land area, China is actually larger. The claim of second largest country depends entirely on whether you include the water. Most rankings do, and the distinction matters. Fact 31. The 90% within 160 kilometers of the border statistic is real, but it flattens something important. That concentration along the southern strip is a product of climate, rail infrastructure, and agricultural viability. The vertical sovereignty above it, the Arctic archipelago, the territorial claims, and the Northwest Passage is geopolitically active and legally contested. treating Canada as a thin ribbon of population clinging to the American border, misses what the rest of that territory actually means strategically. Fact 32. The Okanagan Desert is not a desert. We covered this briefly, but it deserves its own number. Tourism boards have called it Canada's only true desert for decades. The scientific classification is semi-arid. The precipitation is too high to qualify under standard definitions. The marketing worked so well that most Canadians now believe it as fact. The region is genuinely dry and extreme. It is not technically a desert. Fact 33. Magnetic Hill in Moncton is not magnetic. It is an optical illusion, a gravity hill, where the surrounding landscape creates the visual impression of an uphill slope that is actually downhill. Put your car in neutral and you roll toward what your eyes read as uphill. The magnetism is perception. The hill is sloped. The name has been wrong since the attraction opened. Fact 34. Victoria Island in the Arctic contains a lake, with an island in it, which has its own lake, which contains yet another island. It is one of the largest recursive geography features on Earth. It sits 75 miles inland, almost entirely inaccessible. The land folds back on itself like a structural argument it can't finish. Fact 35. Newfoundland operates on its own half-hour time zone, GMT-330, not an even hour behind, 30 minutes. It has kept this offset since the 1930s and has no intention of changing it. Fact 36. Nunavut license plates are shaped like polar bears, not rectangular, not oval. Bears. Fact 37. You cannot paint a wooden ladder in Alberta. The Occupational Health and Safety Code prohibits it because paint conceals cracks and structural damage. The law is real. It is also correct. Fact 38. Petrolia, Ontario, has a BI law banning whistling, shouting, and singing at all times, not after midnight. The BI law is real and has never been repealed. Fact 39. Prime Minister Mackenzie King, Canada's longest-serving PM at nearly 3 decades, held regular seances and communicated with his dead dog's ghost. He kept detailed journals about it. He governed a G7 nation. Both things are true simultaneously. Fact 40. Canada granted Santa Claus official citizenship in 2008. His postal code is H0H0H0. 40 facts. One through line, the version of Canada being sold in classrooms, tourism campaigns, and viral threads is cleaner, simpler, and more convenient than the actual country. The real map has weaker gravity, burning hills, French territory offshore, and a prime minister talking to his dead dog. That version is stranger and more interesting. Let me know which one landed hardest in the comments. Consider subscribing and turn on notifications. It genuinely helps.